Respected sister and brothers, I'm very happy to be here, have opportunity to talk or share some of my sort of ideas or feeling on the basis of my own experience. Now, firstly, we are human beings. Like any other sentient being, want happiness, do not want suffering. Yet, 7 billion human beings on this planet, lot of sort of problem, essentially our own creation. It is quite sad. We do not want suffering. We want happy life. Yet, due to short-sighted and self-centered and narrow-minded, it's a lot of problem, essentially our own creation. However, basic human nature, according to scientists, we are social animal. Therefore, you see, certain kind of sort of what's the concern for their own community as a social animal. So one individual's future depends on the community. So now in modern time, due to technology, information, and due to these sort of factors, whole world and economy, global economy, whole world like one human community. So now, since many problems which our own creation on the basis of too much sort of emphasis, we and they, in spite same part of same human community. So now, in order to reduce these human-created problems, including war, the thousands of different species of mammals, birds, they never, also they develop war. Only human being. Organized violence. Only all human beings' creation in the history also. A lot of war in human history, not other animal. So now still we are 21st century. Now we're still carrying the sort of thinking or because of the, I think, mentality or thinking in previous centuries. There's too much emphasis we and they, and use a lot of weapons and killing. Now we are 21st century. We should not repeat the 20th century's too many violence. First World War, Second World War, and Vietnam War, and many civil war. Now even today, now in Arab area, very serious sort of situation. All these are our own creation. One way, everyone, including these soldiers, they also love their own life. They want happy life. But, you see, under order, you see, they carry the weapon And the very sort of, also the purpose of a weapon is killing. And the world, so many poor people there, yet a lot of money spent for weapon. Very sad. In 20th century, it happened that way. That is past. Now we should think genuine peace, genuine harmony among the humanity. And when we think the gap rich and poor, the poor people in Africa, in Asia also, in Europe also, the poor people, their main concern is day-to-day life. I think the world has some potential to help these people and to reduce gap rich and poor. But you see, these money used for sort of develop more weapons. Very sad. One way, whole world, everybody say peace, peace, peace. Peace not through prayer, but we have to make effort. In order to develop peace, we have to make effort to reduce violence and to reduce weapons. So now, like Mahatma Gandhiji's non-violence, any problem we have to solve through dialogue, non-violent way. That's India's tradition. Over 3,000 years, the concept of ahimsa and karuna. That's India's tradition. Buddha, Shakyamuni, and Mahavira, Jain, all these great thinkers, they carry the 1,000-year-old India's tradition of ahimsa, karuna. So, today's world, I think India's tradition, ahimsa, karuna, is really very relevant to today's world. So, in order to show world, like previous century, 20th century, Mahatma Gandhi show world non-violent struggle. So in South Africa and many countries, many people follow the later American Kasa, Martin Luther King, totally dedicated Mahatma Gandhi's path. So therefore, now India's 1,000-year-old tradition very much based on ahimsa, karuna. That now world need that. In order to offer or some contribution for world, firstly, within India, you should revive this ancient Indian tradition, Indian thought, ahimsa, karuna. So these, so India, I feel, I always sort of expressing, India is the only nation who can combine the modern education, which oriented about material value, and plus the ancient Indian knowledge, how to develop peace of mind. So therefore, within India should revive this ancient Indian knowledge, how to bring peace of mind and how to tackle anger, frustration. So more compassionate mind here, your way of life carry more honest truthful. That brings self-confidence. That increase inner strength, like Mahatma Gandhi ji. So therefore, now this country, I think you can check Egyptian civilization, Chinese civilization, and Sand Valley Skara, Indus Valley civilization. I think this Indus Valley civilization, which is India's civilization, I think produced most great thinkers, philosopher, not in Chinese tradition or Egyptian sort of civilization. I don't think. So, this country, over 3,000 years now, produced a lot of great thinkers, and India still gave, or the influence of ahimsa still there. As a result, this now most populated democratic country very peaceful, and religious harmony there, because ahimsa. In our neighbor country, Afghanistan, and these Syria and Iraq, this area, same Muslim, Sunni, Shia, fighting, killing. And then Egypt, Christian and Muslim problem. And unfortunately, in Burma, Buddhist, Muslim, some problem. So it is unthinkable. All major religious traditions carry same message of love, in spite of different philosophy. People who suppose follow practice of loving kindness and fighting each other, killing each other. Unthinkable. When we saw these things, really we admire India's 1,000-year-old religious harmony. These, because of 1,000-year-old India's tradition, ahimsa. So intellectual level, debate, criticism, but physical level, very peaceful. Within Nalendra's, also the Buddhist scholars, so a lot of sort of argument, a lot of criticism each other, but very peaceful. So now India is the living example. All major world religious traditions can live together and a mutual respect, and sometimes mutual learning. That's India's also 1,000-year-old concept of ahimsa that creates that kind of religious harmony. And politically also, it's a democratic country. During election, a little bit heated discussions or criticism sometimes happen, but very peaceful. Okay. So India's 1,000-year-old tradition, ahimsa, karuna, and also this country, over 3,000 years, concept of shamatha, single-pointed meditation, and the concept of vipassana, analytical meditation, already developed in this country. So India truly, I think, produce many great thinkers. So India's 1,000-year-old tradition, ahimsa and karuna, now world need. So firstly, within the country, now here, the teachers and the students, you should pay more attention about is ancient Indian knowledge. The ahimsa, not just a slogan, but insight, karuna. Karuna carried ahimsa. So karuna not through prayer, but training. So in that respect, as you mentioned, the Nalanda tradition, Sanskrit tradition, Buddha himself, told his follower, "Oh, my follower, monks, scholars should not accept my teaching out of faith, out of devotion, but rather thorough investigation and experiment." So Buddha himself, expressed that way. So Pali tradition, according also the Nalanda tradition, the Buddha first Dharma teaching soon after he enlightened at Sanath, that recorded in Pali. Now Sri Lanka, Burma, Thailand, Cambodia, Laos, and all these countries seriously practice, follow these Buddha's teaching. The monkhood, wonderful. Now, second Dharma teaching Buddha give at Rajgiri. Now, mainly in Sanskrit. So we say Paramita Sutra he taught at Rajgiri. Marve, Rajgiri. No. So there Paramita Sutra. Lot of explanation about ultimate reality of everything. So that the Nalanda institution, as an academic institution, now they carry the particular Buddha Dharma in general, particularly the Sanskrit tradition. That very much utilize our brain, analyze. So one of my Indian friend, Raja Ramana, late Raja Ramana, he told me once, quantum physics in Europe, something new. In this country, over 2,500 years already developed quantum physics. It's very true. So now these days, now over 40 years, I have a serious discussion with modern scientists, including quantum physicists. So I want to share one of my secrets, that is when the quantum physicists, they explain about quantum physics, and I humbly listen. But inside my mind, I feel I know better. Because we 20, 30 years study that. And not only study intellectual level, meditate in daily. So the quantum physicists, they say there's nothing objective, nothing exists objectively, ultimately related with observer. Then modern quantum physicists, if we raise the question, where is observer? No answer. In this country, you see, thoroughly investigate where is self, where is I. So now here, you see the differences, Atma concept, Anatma theory, different sort of theories, because they investigate where is self, where is I. So now, like the, as I mentioned earlier, so quantum physics, as Raja Ramana says, it is very true. So therefore, then psychology. many psychologists, scientists, you see, when we explain about these things, they show eagerness to learn from ancient Indian psychology. So sometimes little bit sort of exaggeration, expressing, as far as the psychology is concerned, Western psychologist knowledge, compare Indian psychology, their psychology sort of level is a kindergarten level. Indian psychology, highly developed. So now more and more psychologists from West is really showing as a result of more discussion like that. And then quantum physics, as already I mentioned. And then logic, or the Nalanda tradition, especially, you see, sort of emphasis, importance of logical approach. Even Buddha's own word, we never say yes, yes, no, why. We raise question and investigate. Then Buddha's teaching, some Buddha's teaching, when he investigate, further sort of clear about his teaching through reasoning, then we accept that. But some Buddha's teaching, according particular audience, you see some his sort of teaching, little bit sort of, also they, not very, when we thoroughly investigate some contradiction, so we reject even Buddha's own word. Like Nalendra's, the top scholar, like Nagarjuna and Aryadeva, Buddhapalita, and Dharmakirti, Chandrakirti. Now these people investigate Buddha's own teaching. When they find some through reasoning, investigate some sort of contradiction, then we reject Buddha's own word. So we, according now Nalanda tradition, we say Buddha's teaching, some Buddha's teaching literally can accept, some Buddha's teaching literally we cannot accept. That's quite unique. So that shows we emphasis reasoning, investigation. So Nalanda master, many Nalanda master, they emphasis reasoning, logical approach. So since 8th century, the Tibetan emperor, Tibetan king, Chisung Dezen, now he invite 8th century, around that period, top master of Nalanda was Chandrarakshita. He invited to Tibet. Now Chandrarakshita himself, top scholar of Nalanda institution. So he introduced Buddha Dharma according to Nalanda tradition, including logic, Buddhist logic. So Chinese Buddhism also, you see, same source from Nalanda tradition, but they not much pay attention about logic. So some important text about logic, Digna, Dharmakirti, these two persons, they are writing, they are great logicians. So they are writing, not translated into Chinese language. We Tibetan, all these texts translated into Tibetan. Because Chandrarakshita himself, great logician, his own writing, some logic things. So therefore, we as a follower, as a student of Chandrarakshita, over 1,000 years, we pay much more attention, study about logic. So now, Today, I think whole Buddhist world, I think Tibetan tradition, only Tibetan tradition, you see, carry complete sort of the knowledge of Nalendra Master. So, now gradually, many people, sometimes you see Buddhists from Pali tradition, Burma, Thailand, you see now more and more people now came to see me. So since we become very close friend, so I teasing, you see, your tradition without logic, then like without teeth. So some difficult subject, they cannot bite because no teeth. The Nalendra tradition, Sanskrit tradition, we thoroughly study logic, so no matter how hard we can. So the logic very important. So usually you see we traditionally in Tibetan monastic institution, the Madhyamika philosophy, one. Then the whole sort of Buddhist, also the concept how to develop from this level up to Buddha's level, the Kasa Prajins, Abhisamaya Alankara, that book we study, one very important. Then Umujuko Kasa, Madhyamika Avatara, plus Madhyamika Mulakarika, Nagarjuna, these. And then Digna and Dhammakirti's, you see, logic text. You see, these are main texts we study. So therefore, now among the Buddhist world, I think only we Tibetan, in previously Mongolia, in early part of this century, the previous century, a lot of sort of damage in Mongolia, but we, since Chinese communist is in control, and they hardliner, narrow-minded, they really put a lot of restriction, study these things. However, handful Tibetan refugee community in this country. Now, recently I visited, over 10,000 monk students, they still carry this knowledge through rigorous study, at least 20 years study. So, basically, Tibetan 1,000-year-old tradition which introduced by Shanta Rakshita, still we kept. So, the Nalendra tradition, much sort of emphasis on reasoning and a logical approach. So some Chinese scholar, some university, so after they saw some of our publication here, they express, Tibetan Buddhist tradition is true lineage of Nalendra. And that Buddhist tradition is very scientific religion. So it is very true. So therefore, now Nalendra tradition, we still that tradition very much alive among our sort of also the knowledgeable people, like that. So now, Nalendra in India, all these Nalendra masters are Indian, no Tibetan. So usually I describe you Indian, traditionally our guru, our teacher, we are Chela. And we not only just a Chela, reliable Chela. All these knowledge, now Nalendra disappear, but this knowledge still we kept very much alive. So that proof we are reliable Chela. Isn't it? So sometimes I teasing my Indian friend, this physical, not Indian, Tibetan, but this mind, I'm more Indian than those modern Indian who educated Western education. Those Indian who thoroughly Western education. You see, you're physical Indian, but your mind is Western educated mind. So now you should pay more attention this ancient Indian knowledge. As I mentioned earlier, only this country can combine modern education, which exists in this country very well, and the technology, science, all these material things, very important. But look, Western country, materially highly developed, but as far as inner peace is concerned, much lacking, too much emotion. So therefore, for that, ancient Indian knowledge, how to keep peace of mind, so that firstly revive in this country, then India can show rest of the world, beside the material development, but inner sorority, inner development, or inner world, inner peace. So I feel India can contribute for world peace effectively, training our mind, propagate concept of ahimsa, karuna. So now young Indian, as an Indian, you should feel proud. This nation, you see, I think a lot of potential to make contribution, better world, better humanity, happier humanity. So you should pay more attention for study this ancient Indian knowledge. So that is about my talk. Then some questions now.